Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to the December edition of the Tucson Macintosh User Group meeting. Let's all celebrate your winter solstice holidays of choice. In addition to that, there's also National Chocolate Covered Anything Day and the anniversary of the Boston Tea Party and the Battle of the Bulge. We will next gather on Tuesday, January 20th at this same virtual location. This month, we are learning how to take control of your health with Apple, and our guest presenter is Jill McKinley, and she is here now. Welcome, Jill. Uh, T-Mug is once again soliciting contributions to the Southern Arizona Food Bank, and we want to thank all the contributors. And if you send a check made out to the Southern Arizona Food Bank to our P.O. Box, the T-Mug will match that. T-Mug Treasury will match that and double your efforts to help our neighbors here in Tucson. In January, we will have an Ask Me Anything session hosted by Kevin, and we will have a special guest presenter, Allison Sheridan, showing us how to unleash the power of Apple Photos on Mac OS. Would like you to watch for Zoom to open a survey window. We can have a survey tonight, Roger? Okay. Put the window to the side and answer the question as time permits. You will need to answer the you will need to complete the survey prior to leaving the meeting. And it's on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being better than 1. And there's the poll or the survey. And got to get it out of the way. You're going to mess up my notes here. Okay. The door prize winner in November was Mark Yarnish. Congratulations to Mark. Please subscribe to the T-Mug YouTube channel. You can find the link to that in the newsletter and on the social media page, tmug.com. In addition to that, in the newsletter, you will find instructions on how and where to send your check for the Southern Arizona Food Bank and get your donation doubled by T-Mug. Subscribers to T-Mug today, which is our newsletter, and are subscribed with that was last month. Never mind. Are there any other announcements which I forgot other than next month we will have the election of officers? Every T-Mug member is eligible to run for office, and we have the standard 5 officers. And if you would like to stand for election and you want to know more about uh, what is involved, contact myself or any of the officers. We'll be happy to discuss it with you. Every time we get a new person on the officers on the board, it really does help us because we have an influx of new ideas. And so, as I've said in the past, there's only 2 reasons to run for office for TMUD. One would be if you like what we're doing and you want to help us to keep doing it. The other is if you don't like what we're doing, run for election, get elected, and help change it. So, back to, are there any other announcements that I forgot? Okay, are there any for sales or wanted to buy? And okay,
I
at this
I'm
point, yeah.
yeah. I'm not looking, I don't have anything to sell, but if I am looking for like another desk that I could set up for to like another monitor on the desk I have now is covered in papers. I'd like one that I could be um directed to setting up a monitor, doing editing of photos, doing some crafts on. So if anybody has an old table, I'm not looking for anything fancy, just, you know.
Okay.
Check IKEA. IKEA has a lot of stuff that they'll send right to your house.
Yeah, there's too fancy. I really want like a basic old table that I don't have to worry about like doing crafts on and getting paint and glue and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Costco has some 8 footers and 4 footers and 6 footers,
Like the folding ones.
the folding ones.
Yeah, no, no. No.
G- Gina,
Then,
Gina, I've got one that you can have. Um, I after things have settled down around here, I'll send you a picture.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. Thank you.
okay. Any other for sales or wanted to buys? Then I'm going to turn it over to Ridge, who's going to do the presentation of tech updates and security news. Ridge, are you ready to take over? The stage is yours.
Okay, here we are in December. And the software updates that are probably going to be of interest to our membership. The one I think is really important here is Carbon Copy Cleaner and Spam Save and Super Duper. And of course, we're running Work Zoom 670 now. And Apple has released some new firmware update for the AirPods Pro. And these are all of the updates that they were released over the past weekend, along with a lot of security updates that we'll see later. And I'll just stand here for a second while you look to see if there's anything there that's important to you all. Okay, now in beta is the 0.3 update to everything Tahoe. And we have to say goodbye to the iPhone SE because it came out in 2016 and it's now too old. It's classified as obsolete, so there's no more Apple supplied service or replacement parts. Here's something of interest to maybe some of us who used to use old telephones. Native Unions has fashioned a handset that looks like a retro telephone. It connects to your iPhone with a USB-C cable, which means that if you have an iPhone that only has a lightning connector, it won't work with that. And one of the online testers said that it worked perfectly for him. Here are some keyboards that Macworld Online has recommended as being of particular use for all of us. If you're a power user, they recommend this Logitech MX Keys S. And here's the one they say is well designed and competitively priced from Hewlett Packard. And there's also a colorful smart keyboard from Logitech, which is called the Pop Icon. And they have a recommendation for a full-size mechanical Mac keyboard. All the key switches are mechanical from Keychron. And the best Mac keyboard with Touch ID, of course, comes from Apple. Here are the rumors that Apple is probably going to release new entry-level models of everything early next year. And they also may be getting ready to release a new version of the HomePod Mini. And some also think the folding iPhone is coming next year. Now, the new 5-inch square Mac Mini, they say, is being tested with the M5 Pro and M5 Max chips. Maybe we'll see that next year as well. And a next generation 27-inch studio display may come next year, and may have a mini LED panel. And sometime in the future, we may see from Apple a new iMac Pro or a 32-inch iMac and a high-end iMac with the M5 Max chip. Another rumor is that Apple and Intel are going to begin working together in producing M6 and M7 chips as early as the middle of 2027. And there's also another rumor about a special 20th anniversary iPhone coming sometime in 2027. Thanks for your attention so far to the first part of my presentation. Now we'll turn to the items of security interest for this month. Adobe, Mozilla, and Microsoft and Google didn't have any critical security fixes to report this month. However, Apple did. And look at all those 10s and 25 and 20 fixes for all of their stuff. And I'll let you take a look at this slide so you can see that if you're running Sonoma, you probably ought to get it updated and so forth. For cybercrime news, there's a new phishing campaign hitting some with forged Amazon billing notices for a supposed Prime Video renewal. There's a polished invoice and urgent support pitch designed to push their victims into calling a scam hotline. The messages you get impersonate Amazon's billing system and arrive with a PDF that looks like an official receipt. The document you get lists a fake order ID, a fabricated invoice number, and a renewal charge that customers never authorized. The message also repeats the same out-of-state phone number and tells recipients to call within a short window if they did not approve the payment. So they want you to be afraid that you're going to get charged a payment if you don't call. The layout of that form mimics an Amazon receipt, but you can find out pretty quickly once you look at it pretty closely. First of all, Amazon does not send billing notices from random domains, and they do not use off-brand PDF invoices that ask you to call. And finally, Amazon does not ask customers to confirm activity through external signature services. And they warn customers to ignore any kind of demands, any kind of messages that demand urgent action or ask them to verify account information through a phone number included. And Amazon reminds users that its support phone numbers are listed only on the Amazon website or in the official app. They also state that real order confirmations always appear in the Your Orders page of the Amazon website. Messages that do not appear there should be treated as fraudulent. If you're looking online for a guide on how to do something with or for your Mac, be advised that trusting in online AI chatbots is not a good idea. There's a new atomic macOS stealer, AMOS, attack vector that weaponizes Google searches and the user's trust in AI chatbots, researchers have found. Once infected, the AMOS can collect data, passwords, and more from the infected Mac with alarming ease. One user had searched clear disk space on Mac OS before choosing one of the two sponsored results, and both of those results linked to a shared chatbot chat, one for ChatGPT and the other for Grok. But it didn't matter which the victim clicked on because they both ultimately did the same thing. The steps the infection takes is boiled down to copying and pasting a terminal command that was supposed to free up Mac OS storage space. And in reality, it downloaded a file that then set about gaining root privileges to allow it to access apps and data unchecked. The route taken by this particular AMOS ensured that it never triggered any of Apple's built-in macOS security features. And once the command was run in terminal, there was never any indication that something was amiss. And once running, it was found that the AMOS stealer had the ability to capture a number of high-value data types. And the attack ensures that it is configured to run even after the Mac is restarted, meaning it's always ready to steal more data. Pasting a command into the terminal window might seem okay, given the context, and it's easy to see how people might fall for such an attack. But to stay safe, only follow guides from known trusted sources. And AL chatbots are not trusted resources, and any information they provide should be checked against a real resource. So never follow any steps outlined by a shared chatbot session, no matter how legitimate it might appear. And don't run commands via the terminal app unless you're absolutely sure that you know what you're doing. There is good news. The AVG Antivirus Free, which got a 4-star rating from Macworld Online. This AVG free antivirus for Mac offers strong virus and malware protection, a good level of customization, commendable feature set without paying up front, despite a few rough edges. Macworld Online says the software offers a solid set of features and makes a good level of security beyond what Mac OS already provides. So if you're looking for a basic, free, and reliable antivirus protection, AVG free antivirus for Mac is worth trying out and perhaps paying for the full-featured version that they sell, which is called AVG Antivirus for Mac. So thanks for your attention. And of course, the overall moral of my presentation here is to stay safe and be smart online. So adios.
Thank you, Ridge.
Thanks, Ridge.
Thanks, Ridge.
Appreciate all your work there. Next, we're going to move on to the Accessibility Minute with Chris Wesselman. Chris, are you ready to take off with that?
Yeah, I'm going to multitask here because Gary in Cleveland needs a link for the meeting. So let me see if I can, or I tell you what, can you do that, Bob? Do you have
Yeah, I think Gary?
Yeah, Gary,
Yeah,
sure.
I can send
Yeah,
him
that'd be great.
Are you conversing via email or text?
Text.
Okay,
That'd be
I'll
great.
send it out.
So while you're doing that, I also have a surprise, and I dropped it already into the chat. A friend called up today. He just updated his phone to 26.2, and he was lost. He didn't know what the heck to do with liquid glass. So I went through the whole thing on liquid glass, and then I thought, well, Okay, let me tell you about the phone setup because it's all opt-in. So what I did was I created a cheat sheet that was basically the steps I went through with him and the things to look at, and I've shared that with you. And this is sort of a do-it-yourself thing. When you go to these links in, the settings, you will be able to make choices. And it's first of all, liquid glass, we all know about. There was a change, I believe, and I'd be interested in Kevin's thoughts in the second release candidate, such that the tinted setting now in displays and text may be all most people need for liquid glass. But there's also the other things listed, and I can go through that list tonight if you want, or I can read off this ChatGPT thing on Apple's um, vision accessibility settings. So it's up to you guys, whichever one you want. Um, but it's a good sheet to have around because you want to set up your liquid glass so you can read the screen, and there are lots of choices like we talked about last month or the month before in terms of how you set liquid glass. They've been somewhat simplified, so that's why I sort of created the new cheat sheet. And this is the one for 26.2. It may change again in 26.3, in which case I'll update it. But anyway, download it from the chat. You've got it to look at and see the various settings. And also the phone stuff is the biggest feature for me actually in iOS 26. And it lets you screen calls, which I do all the time. I never see any of my unknown calls anymore, and they're all taken care of. And also the hold assist, and I believe it now works for robotext. So basically, what's going on in a nutshell is you're on hold for somebody, and the system will automatically come back and say, "Hey, we see you're on hold. Would you like us to do hold assist?" In which case you say yes, and it gives you your phone back so you can do other things. And then when the person picks up on the other end, you get rung. And the problem with the robotext is a lot of these recordings have things that say, "We value you as a customer and want to know that it's actually going to be another 33 minutes before a human can talk to you." That kind of robotext thing used to defeat it and it would call you up. Recently, it did not for me on one of them. So I don't know if that's sort of a beta feature, but it looks like they've really fixed that. And if you do a lot of phone calls on your phone, this is just essential in my opinion. So,
That was
you know,
fixed in 26 too, just to let you
was
know.
it the
Yeah,
robotext is definitely fixed? Great.
yeah.
That's really super. But yeah, and I was really quite surprised because that tinted setting is really all I need on the phone. Now, there's another thing I do because of just my eyesight. I'm very sensitive to glare, and there's a thing to reduce white point in accessibilities. That's a kind of a photography term, but it's basically the intensity of the white light coming out of your iPhone is sort of a layman's way of looking at that. And you can play with that a little bit. If your iPhone ever hurts your eyes because it's too bright, you can try adjusting that as well. So those settings are all there. It's sort of do it yourself. And oh, there's Gary. Hey, Gary, you made it. Okay, great. So yeah, that's it. Now, I don't know, Bob, do we have time to go through the accessibility stuff? I know we've got a lot to cover here.
Uh,
We could
we
do that
have
next month if
about
you want.
we have about 4 or 5 minutes.
Well, okay. It is, like I said, it is a ChatGPT boilerplate, and I had it adjust the text for a senior audience. So it said, um, Apple does especially well making its devices easier to read, to see, and easier to use. Let me make this a little bigger. As our eyesight changes, including mine. Uh, Apple includes vision accessibility tools for every phone, iPad, and Mac. You don't need special equipment. You don't need to be tech savvy. These features are built in and can be turned on any time. Okay, here they are. Let's start with larger, clearer text. Apple allows you to increase the text size, we all know that, across the entire system, not just messages or mail. It'll also let you do it only in the app. You can also make text bolder or improve contrast, which helps letters stand out more clearly on the screen. For people who find small details hard to see, there is Zoom. And yes, I use Zoom every day. Um, Lets you magnify part of the screen or the entire display, as I'm doing right now, using simple gestures on the keyboard controls. This is useful for reading fine print, viewing photos, working with detailed information without straining your eyes. Apple also offers display adjustments that reduce glare and make screens more comfortable. And that's the white point I just talked about. You can lower brightness, reduce transparency, invert colors if people really have vision problems and or challenges, and to make the text easier to read, especially helpful for those with light sensitivity or tired eyes. That's me. Okay. Another very practical tool is Magnifier, available on the iPhone and iPad. And Magnifier turns your device into a digital magnifying glass. You can use it to read menus, labels, instructions, or mail. And you can even freeze the image on the screen so you don't have to hold the phone steady while reading it. And there's a camera in there so you can take a picture of it to record it. For those who prefer listening instead of reading, Apple provides spoken content with a simple gesture. Your device can read emails, web pages, books, and documents aloud. This is very helpful for proofreading, by the way. This is helpful when your eyes are tired or when reading for long periods becomes uncomfortable. For individuals with more significant vision loss, Apple includes voice over, a feature that speaks what's on the screen and helps guide you through apps and menus. While it's powerful, it's also optional. You only use it if and when you need it. Okay. Um, what makes these features especially helpful is consistency. Once you learn how something works on your iPhone, it works the same way on an iPad, of course, or a Mac. Many settings can even carry over automatically between devices. In closing, Apple's vision accessibility features are all about comfort, independence, confidence. Whether your eyesight has changed a little or a lot, these tools help you continue reading, communicating, and enjoying technology on your own terms. Good design should adapt to us, not the other way around. Apple's approach to accessibility does exactly that. So, um, just a quick, let me see if I can find my Zoom screen again. Where are you guys? There you are. Okay. I had my cataracts done a year ago, Labor Day, and the one thing I've found, my vision is brighter and bluer, like everybody talks about, but I get a lot more eye fatigue, and so that's something I've been dealing with. Sometimes eye drops help, and that's a whole nother subject. But so this accessibility stuff is can be really helpful, and if you guys let me know in advance what you're interested in the accessibility features, we'll zero in on one particular feature, like Zoom or something in future sessions. So try to let me know ahead of time. I don't need a couple of days' notice is fine, and we'll cover that in the future. So back to you, Bob.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Could you copy that text you just read, put it into a text file, and then drop it into TMUG Talk as your show notes?
I think so. They're generated by ChatGPT. Cheetah, is that
Can you
a
not,
problem?
can, I don't think that's a problem.
I
Can you
guess
just
sure, I'll
copy
be
and
happy to
paste?
do that.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm going to introduce Jill McKinley, and I think this is her third time on our screen, and she is going to tell you how you can take control of your health with Apple by closing one ring at a time. So, Jill, if you're ready to take it away.
Right, let me share my screen. Thank you so much for having me. You'll appreciate being where you are. We were minus 15 the other day, so you should be glad you are someplace that doesn't get to be minus 15. And someone said in the chat, Melissa said, "Yay, Jill." Well, yay, you. I'm so glad to see you all. It's such an honor to be here, and I'm going to talk a presentation about how I used Apple Fitness to help me get healthy. And also, thank you, great for that white glare tip. I just turned it on. I'm always blinded by my iPhone, no matter how much I turn it down, and that's just fantastic. So, like, it's like paparazzi all the time with your iPhone. So again, thank you for being here. I'll talk a little bit about how we got to where we're at. And if you probably remember anything about me in the last couple years where I came here, I weighed a little bit more. I weighed 80 pounds more. And so in the last course of the last 18 months, I've lost 80 pounds. And the weight loss was not my concern with technology, but staying healthy while doing it. Because as we all know, that if you lose a tremendous amount of weight, you will lose bone mass, muscle mass, nutrition problems. There's all sorts of side issues that you can have. And so I talk about how I took control over my health with Apple that's here. So let me go ahead and click here. And hopefully you all see my screen, right? Okay. Uh, should be a big screen of
Yes, we see it fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure. So this was me a couple years ago. This was me at Max Stock. And like I said, I was 80 pounds more. And I'm not going to, I took one of the GLP-1s to help me lose weight. And so the weight loss was not the issue that I was trying to solve with Apple. As you probably have heard, you can get very sick on this medication. You can have all sorts of side effects with this medication. And what, as let me just spoiler alert the whole thing, is like I said, I lost 80 pounds, but I gained 12 pounds of muscle, which is very good. Usually you lose a lot of muscle when you lose a lot of fat. And the other part is that I kept my skeletal bone mass, which I was very worried about because I'm not at an age either where you want to lose any bone mass. So, getting it is hard. And so this was kind of the story that I had for myself. So, when I was back in those days, Wally was really my goal. I kind of looked at exercise as me getting up to get a drink. Like when my ring would go off and it says, "Oh, stand up," I'd go get a snack, I'd go get a drink, I'd plug in my laptop. I mean, it was not, fitness and getting healthy was not something that I was doing very well. And I realized that, you start, I don't know, you sort of see in your 20s and, you get away with everything, right? You eat all this garbage and you stay up too late and you do all the things that are wrong for you and you feel like you can overcome it because you're 20. And by the time, all of a sudden when I started reaching, more like into my mid 40s, then I was like, oh, I'm not overcoming anything anymore. And so really, fitness and health was not a big part of my life. And let's see here. So this was always my joke. Everyone joked about the Wally people who just floated around in the little seats. I was like, what's wrong with that? That sounds awesome. So, and then when I realized that I needed to do something about my health and get it together, you start looking at the tools that you have around for yourself. And one of the things that I was so impressed with, particularly Tim Cook in Apple, but Apple in general, is how concerned they were about health. And I saw this quote that said, that Tim Cook even believes that if you look into the future, you might look at Apple and see that its contributions to health is going to be one of the biggest things it did. And that's really just struck me is that, you talked about Apple, like, you talked about like the accessibilities just a minute ago. And I was thinking, Apple really wants you to whatever it is you want to do, they want to be able to help you just do it. And that, whatever shape, size, eye vision thing you have is just like the new commercial. I don't know if you've all seen that new commercial that Apple had. They want you to do what you want to do on your own terms. And so I was able to use Apple as a tool to help me stay healthy and maintain my health in all of this. I'm not going to get too much for anyone who knows my podcast. I do start with small steps where I just talk about kind of improving your life and, through books. I was kind of grew up in a big messy situation. And so I use books to help me accomplish, like figure out how to get myself out of holes in life. My parents weren't particularly good role models when it came to certain aspects, like some things. And so one of the books that helped me was a book by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein. Cass Sunstein does a lot of governmental work. And the idea behind these guys was really they were writing a book about how do you get people to do, things that benefits them? Like how do you get them to save for their retirement fund when they're like me, when I was 25 years old, I'm not going to save for my retirement fund. Or what about like how do you get people to donate organs when the default is that the box isn't checked on their driver's license to donate organs? So they started, it's by default checked and you can opt out, just sort of tricks of trying to help people do what they want to do, but, maybe that they didn't want to do. And when I walked away from this book called Nudge, he basically came up with two different things that you nudge and then you push. And the idea of a nudge is a reminder. Hey, Jill, wouldn't it be good to stand up right now? Hey, Jill, you haven't exercised yet today. Jill, you haven't met a vegetable this week. Wouldn't that be great if you did those kinds of things? That's kind of a nudge. And push is more like, oh gosh, I really need to do these things. It's just the same, if you're like saving for retirement or doing anything that you're supposed to do, is you say, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I saved for my retirement? But a push is, yeah, I better do that because I'm running out of time. That's kind of the push. And then I sort of invented two additional ones. I did a presentation at my work like this too. Shove. You get to shove. And when it comes to anything in your life, you never really want to get to shove. And so for me, I hit about 45 years old and I was perfectly healthy. I was like, I don't, I'm overweight. I'm not in shape. I'm not doing anything healthy for myself. I'm fine though. I'm perfectly healthy. My cholesterol's fine. My blood pressure's fine. I do what I want to do, and it's fine. And then you start not feeling well, and then all of a sudden at 45, I nearly gave myself a form of cancer that was caused by being severely overweight. There's just no way of saying it kind of in a nicer way. And I had to have surgery, and then they were going to go look at it and say, is there cancer there? And if there was, I was going to come out of surgery and go immediately into radiation therapy. And luckily, what they found is that it was one step away from cancer, but it wasn't cancer. So that was really good news for me, but that was my shove, that I needed to do something. And I started, wanting to get healthier. So I started losing weight on my own. And I think at some point you sort of break your metabolism. And I think that's where I was at, because I did the diet that I was doing now, but I lost about 16 pounds over the course of 3 years. And so it just wasn't, but I was doing the right thing, so I was doing the things I needed to do. I was exercising, I was eating healthy. I started eating a plan like you only eat what you can find on a farm kind of thing. So that was the other part. But instead, the idea is, what can we do instead to equip ourselves to succeed as compared to getting to nudge, shove, anything like that? Can we just get started? And that's where Apple really came in for me. And I realized that all the tools that Apple gives you, like I said, they don't care what your goal is. If your goal is to build a podcast, here's all the tools you need. If your goal is to stay productive and have checklists and to-do lists, great, do that. But in this case, it also provided me the tools that I needed in order to get healthy. Now, there's some nudges out there that are non-technical, and you can see some of them here, like you set your clothes out so that they're ready for the gym or ready for you to go for a walk. You make a when-then plan, which sort of says, when I eat breakfast, then I will go for a walk after I eat breakfast. That's kind of tying two things together, that you're tying something that maybe you're not very successful at doing with something that you are successful, like eating breakfast. And then scheduling activities, coming up with a time block calendar. So you know that every day at 11 o'clock, that's when I go for a walk, or I go to the gym, or I do what I'm supposed to do. for preparing food for the rest of the day. Anything that you can do to sort of nudge yourself in the right, a lot of ways of doing it. And there's a lot of non-technical ways of doing it. And I think one of the nice things, like I said, is that Apple will help you have the good life. Everything that it does, it's feels intuitive. They know how people work. And so why not use all this fancy equipment that we all buy from Apple, their iPads and our iPhones and our watches and our Apple TV, and use those tools in a way that it will help us get healthy. It works because, like I said, it works for productivity because they know how to make things visible, easy to use, and that's why it works for health as well. The same reasons. I was on Chuck Joyner's podcast, and it was kind of funny. He asked me the question, and he goes, "Well, why did Apple work for you when all these years you've been wanting to get healthy and do things? It didn't work." And it's because Apple understands people. Sometimes I joke because I used to be a Windows support person when Windows 95 came out. And sometimes I just don't think Microsoft ever met people. They don't know how a checklist's supposed to work or how this is supposed to work or that's supposed to work. And I'm like, have you met people? I mean, that's not really what we do when we're, trying to organize our day. And Apple works very hard to design things the way people work. And what's true too is I have the chat over here too, so you can either ask questions along the way. Sometimes it's easy to get lost in a presentation, so if you do have questions, either ask in the chat or you can say something too. So the first thing to know about Apple and health, and you've probably seen this before, is the Apple Health app. This is the hub for everything. This brings in so much data, visual charts and ways of tracking things. And my friend, she just got into Apple. I got her iPhone, got an watch, and she's learning kind of the power too. There's so much data in the Apple Watch, but Apple Health app, and it brings everything in. It syncs across third-party apps, which we'll talk about more in just a few minutes, notifications. It pulls in a lot of data. And I'm just going to show you this. You can't read the slide because it's too much, but look at all the different kinds of things that you can bring into your Apple Health app. Some of them are native to the app and some of them are from third-party apps, but it can track a lot. And I think that that's, for me, one of the things that I first started making use of is I started taking all the data that was coming in to the Apple Health Kit. And I was a statistics major essentially. I did research in psychology, and so I did a lot of statistics work. And so I started by pulling data out of the Apple Health Kit and then trying to do correlations with things. And just to give you an example, my glucose started going up as one does when you start gaining weight and not very healthy. And so I was kind of interested, what was it that was spiking my blood sugar so high? And so I started pulling data out of the Apple Health Kit, which was not easy because it was all spreadsheets and exports and correlations and things like that, which I don't recommend. And I was able to find some key foods that were really triggering glucose in me. So I stopped doing that. I found out that when I ate a bigger breakfast that was high in protein, I usually had a good sugar day. So I was doing that. And if you, Allison, who's going to be here next week, I did a piece for her podcast about how I was using sleep tracking, trying to figure out what was going so wrong with my sleep. And I was using that through the Apple Health Kit as well. So there's ways of getting data in and out. And so you can start using that. To your advantage to figure out what's going wrong with your health or what's going right with your health if you're doing that. So if you want to get started with the Apple Health Kit, like I said, because it tracks so much, is you can favorite some of your favorite key metrics. And so one of the things I noticed is that I like to track my heart rate, and I like to track heart rate variability. And heart rate variability is something that is a good indicator of how much stress your body is under, how much stress you are under. And so I like to look at those two trends. And so you can favor them so that they show on the Apple Health app at the very top, and then you always see them. I like to see how much sleep I got the previous night. But, just pick a few metrics because there's so much data there. What can you do that would just be of interest to you, and then start looking at just a few things, check patterns, pick a day of the week where you sort of review your data to see how you're doing. And you could also manually log data, like if you go for a walk, or if you drink so much water. I found this guy, and you can ask me about it later, but he found a way of telling ChatGPT, and I started doing this too, what you eat. And it totals up your fiber, your protein. It goes through you like your day. And then he built an integration through a shortcut that sticks all that in the Apple Health Kit in the right fields. So I don't know how to do that because I'm not very good with shortcuts right now, but I'm learning, what to do. But you can just start using a few of these like I said, it's too much to look at, but just find some of your favorite metrics that you have. And then someone in the chat says sync labs through Apple Health Kit, and that's absolutely. I also use my chart from Epic, which is what my hospital system uses, and so all my medical records come in there, all my blood labs come in there, and so I can see, as things go down and things get better, what's related to that? Is it me getting better sleep? Is it me eating? Is it me just sheerly just losing weight? Which, and in the end, that's probably it. But it's good to be able to see all your data in there. And what's nice too is Apple will send you notifications when something comes into your electronic medical record. And so I just had a weird eye thing that popped up 2 weeks ago, and my eye doctor kind of freaked out about it, and she sent me to a retina specialist. And the moment, the retina specialist came back in through my chart and explained, what was wrong and that it was going to get better, boom, Apple gives me a notification. I can go right in there and see it. So a lot of third-party integration. So it's a good one. The Apple Watch. Now I have Apple Watch, like probably all y'all do, or a lot of you do, and it actually was interesting for me and the Apple Watch, because when I first saw it, the first time it was announced, you got your phone and it does a lot of good things, and you can get a lot of health apps, and like I said. But all of a sudden, I saw the Apple Watch, and I knew that that was the piece that was missing in my fitness. Because how much do I stand up? If you ask me what's one of the worst things Jill does, for my health right now, is I sit too much. I work remotely for the University of California hospital system as an IT person. I sit so much. And, I realized that when they were announcing what the Apple Watch was about, I needed it. I needed to have this to monitor my health. And yeah, it's been great. And so I knew it, but you can detect if you do work out or go for a walk, go for, a run, whatever it is you do, it detects your zones, how much are you, the zones of health are like your heart rate was high or your heart rate was at a moderate pace. Because actually what they're finding is two separate things, is that there is something that, very short spurts of high intensity exercise is very good for you if you check with your doctor. I'm not your doctor, so make sure you check with them first. But also having a consistent amount of exercise. And the rule was, before we had Apple Watches, is can you go on an elliptical or treadmill or walk and still comfortably talk to someone without being out of breath? Before, it was just sort of this feeling about what it is a good amount of workload when you're exercising. Now I have an Apple Watch where you can exactly see what it is you're doing. And, besides all the notifications for AFib, uh, apnea, I was starting to get into different types of like sleep apnea and all, and my health was going downhill, is what I was saying, before I lost the weight, which is why I did that. And as soon as COVID came out and they were saying it was worse for people that was overweight, and suddenly I was using my watch for all sorts of notifications when it came to my health. So that's the other nice thing about it, is I can sit there and drop my phone on my desk and walk around my house all day long and do things, but having a watch that reminds me to stand up, get some exercise. I have various apps for different habits in there. And so it's great. And then we'll talk about the rings here in a minute, but the watch also determines the rings. And when I saw the rings, I thought that is exactly what I have. And so I always kind of ask this question. Um, oop, I went the wrong way. Okay. Is how many people, and you can maybe there's a reaction in Zoom or anything like that, but how many people have just turned off your rings entirely? Or do you follow them and try to get them throughout the day? And you could put in your chat if you wanted to do that. But when I did this at Macstock, I said, raise your hands, if you still try to get your rings. And there's not many people that do, and people see them as a pester, that it's pestering me and it's bugging me. You get your rings, all right, good, great. That's great. But some people think that it pesters them. But I have to tell you, I don't want to talk about the genius about why these rings really are good, great, is that first of all, it is somewhat my opinion that they're kind of the bare minimum, which for me, I wasn't getting them at all. And then when you sort of look at it and you say it's really not a hard climb, that you can get them, especially now that as you can adjust them a little bit. So I'm going to talk about the move ring last because this is the one that is, yeah, I see there's people out there getting their rings. So the exercise ring, of course, is just 30 minutes a day, and it's any kind of exercise. And what's nice about it too is it notices you doing something just naturally. So I go out there and I mow my lawn, or I go and oh, I don't know, I go bird watching quite a bit. And I'm not counting that as exercise, but it detects how much exercise I'm getting from going bird watching. So it just notices you living your life. And I think that that's great. But I also go to the gym, I work out. And so then getting that green ring. You might get, if you go out and you work out for a considerable amount of time, you might burn off like 150, 200 calories. So, that's part of it. The stand ring. So I don't know, say it's a joke, but the new saying is that sitting is the new smoking, is that we sit too much in our society. Particularly, like I said, for me, I work for a hospital remotely. I sit way too much. And it's a problem for me. It's definitely something I need to do. So having the watch just say, "Hey Jill, just stand up," and I look at it, and it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I got like 4 hours standing up. I mean, I really have a problem. So yeah, closed your ring 2,000 times. That's great. Yeah, tried to tell you. Oh no. Oh no. Apple tried to tell you you were having a cardiac issue. Oh no. Well, I hope you're okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, good. That's scary. It's really frightening.
It was broken.
Oh, it was broken. I thought, okay, good. You thought it was broken, but I'm like, but was it? Okay. But yeah, that kind of thing. So let's talk about the move ring because the move ring now makes the whole thing more interesting. So let's say you go to the gym. You do the thing you're supposed to do. I'm really pretty good at that. So you burn off 200 calories, let's say. And then you stand. And okay, so you stand up and you make sure every once in a while you get up and you walk around. Okay, good. But the move ring is how many calories can you burn above um the just you if you were a Jill in the Wally bubble, where you're floating around, the basic existence of you as a human being just being alive, you burn a certain number of calories. Mine's somewhere probably around 1,300 calories, and that's because I'm very short. So I don't have a lot of I'm just short. Taller people tend to do a little bit more. So then you figure out, okay, so you get maybe about 150, 200 calories on top of that. The move ring is saying, can you just in just beyond just sitting and existing, can you burn 500 calories? Now for you, I think we can change that now. The idea is great, you exercise, you stand up every hour. However, are you just sitting there like a blob the rest of the time, doing nothing? And that's my problem, is that it's not so much that I don't exercise, I do, and I do get my stand, but I always get trouble in the red ring because I sit so much. So even if I do stand for those 2 minutes every hour, I'm not moving around enough. And so it reminds me to just go do something else, not just sit there. So the red ring is always the one that's the challenge. But the thing that impressed me about the rings is that the rings themselves, they they're like I said, they're sort of a bare minimum, but they did it in such a way that it is easy to do. They're rings, which means you reset when the day is done. It's a new day, and now your rings reset, and now you do it again. And so it's about having a lifestyle of it. And like I said, when I saw those rings, I knew that Apple worked with people who understand human psychology. And so I think that it's great. Turn it into a challenge. There are challenges that you can have with other people, and you can see when they exercise. You can get notifications when your friend gets an award. And then the other thing is you get a score. There's like a little score challenge thing that says, you got this ring, you got that ring, and it gives you a score for the week. And then you see which ones of you in your group had the best score. So you can make it kind of fun and like a little bit of a game. Whoever maybe gets the highest score gets a free lunch or something like that. But enabling notifications and reminders are a great way to get gentle nudges throughout the day. And it's not just about the Apple things like get up and stand up and, maybe exercise, but there are other apps out there. I used one, and I'm not necessarily recommending it because it's kind of a lot, but it was Noom, and it was called Noom, Noom. And it would say, "Hey, Jill, I noticed you haven't had any vegetables today," because you would track your food in it and everything else like that. I'm like, well, shut up, Noom, and it would remind me to like maybe just go get a couple of vegetables in there. I have hopes, to be honest with you, that they're talking about HealthKit integration now with ChatGPT and other AIs. All that research that I did about what was spiking my glucose and what was causing me to have sleeping problems and, the eating, eating what I need to eat. Wouldn't that be nice if that was something that was built in so that it would remind you? Now, not everyone thinks that's nice. Some people are like, no, it sounds like a real pain, but I'm hoping that it's going to be real nice. Just to get back to the ChatGPT. So I type into ChatGPT all the food I eat, and it keeps all my daily logs of food in there. And it'll say something like, if you had a hard-boiled egg, you would have gotten the amount of protein you needed to. Or, gee, Jill, you didn't really get a lot in the way of vegetables. One quick way that you could do a little bit better is to throw some spinach into your wrap. And it actually says some very valuable things. And I thought, that's really crazy, that it make these really good suggestions based on what I'm eating, and it can actually be a better food tracker than a lot of the food trackers are. Yeah, Noom, Noom. But yeah, very helpful. Um, so I'm hoping we get more like that. The other part is that you can do focus modes. I have a friend of mine, and we go out and we go hiking together, and she can't get away from text messages. You ever be with those people? Like, you're with people and they're like, "Okay, I have this fantastic thing I have to show you." "Oh yeah, that's really great." And you're like, "Okay, stop looking at your text messages." And so we're out bird watching, and she just can't get away. And so I said, "I've never met a human being who needs a focus mode more than you do." So I helped her set up a bird watching focus mode. I said, your family and friends will still be able to contact you, but just get away from your phone and just breathe a little bit, just enjoy being out here in nature. So, your focus modes can get set on your watches, and then it'll prevent everything from over notifying you when you're trying to get maybe a nice walk or get some stress relief in, or, something you're trying to focus on eating your meal instead of being driven out. And you can customize, like I said, your ring goals. So if 500 calories is too much of a burden, it is better that you start in a place that you can achieve it most days and then work your way up. So if you can't get your ring goals, set it to something you can get to, and then try to achieve that, and then see, like, hey, every month, can I just improve it? The calories, 50 calories, the hours, 1 hour, something like that. So the nice thing is that you can pause your rings, which I used to fly. I used to work remote I sort of worked as a consultant, and I would travel all over the United States. And every time I flew back from California, I would screw up my rings because you're on a plane for 2 hours, and then it's changed your time zones, and now you have lost you've lost your streak, and so you can now pause them, which is really great. So that's pretty good. Let's see which yeah, focus mode, getting stuff done. Yeah, absolutely. And then 604. Wow, that's an amazing number of birds that you have. That's great. So the other part of it too is, well, I'm talking about each of the things in the Apple ecosystem that will help you, is the Apple Fitness Pro Plus, which not everybody has, but a lot of people get it because they get it through Apple One, which is how I get it too. And if you haven't seen it, Apple Fitness Plus is an exercise program that you can do on your phone, you can do on your iPad, you can do it on your Apple TV. They have all sorts of really good exercises, and the programs are all high quality. I mean, that's the thing that's been interesting. So when I did my presentation for MacStock, and this was back in July, and I knew this was the topic I was going to talk about, I started I decided I was going to try one of every one of these exercises it had. So one of HIIT training, one of strength training, one of yoga. I'm not much of a yoga person, but I mean, I'm terrible at it, is what I'm trying to say. But I tried to do all of these things, and they're all very good. And it was interesting to me because that was another thing where I asked people to raise their hand. I said, how many people have Apple Fitness Plus? And a lot of people raised their hands. And I said, how many people have ever tried one class? Just tried it, and it was very very few people on it. They are good. They are good for almost every range of health fitness. Because some people are like, well, I'm just not very good. I haven't done strength training, or I can't do very much. It has adjustments in there. So if someone says if you find this a little too hard, try it like this. And you can filter these training classes by the kind of music that's there. Or here's the deep dark secret. You can also say that you want to, if you're on Apple TV Plus, Apple just TV, now I've got to get all the marketing right. You can say, I want to hear the voice higher than the music, or I want to hear the music higher than the voice. But you can kind of tune it to that. But it synchronizes with your watch. So you see your watch sitting there on the screen, and you can get personalized workouts based on your history. So these are the things you kind of like and you've done in the past. Here's some more that you might enjoy. Here's some trainers. There's Deb so and so, and she's doing Pilates. She has a brand new class. So why don't you check her new class out? And so it will make suggestions for you. The other thing of it is in the Apple Fitness app, you can create your own workout plan and say, so I have a workout plan that on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I do strength training. And on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I do cardio. And then on Sunday, I do some kind of a stretch, Pilates, yoga, that kind of thing. And you can create your own program in the Apple Fitness package. So, there's ways of getting that. And I figured too that this is a class more, or this presentation was more about telling you what it can do, because I assume that most of you can kind of Google and figure out how to create your own curriculum, and get that set. So, but just so you know that you can set up a program. There was a question in there that says, if you have Apple Fitness, should we try a workout using SharePlay? I don't know. I've never tried doing that. That sounds amazing. I don't know. Hold on, let me go back, scroll this up. That Apple Health Plus in 2026. From what I hear, that there's going to be AI integration with Apple Health, and it's going to be for people. I wonder if it's going to be part of the Apple One program. I'm hoping it is, because I already do pay for that. But I'm going to be all over that if they do. Using AI to sort of help you get healthy. I don't know what it's going to look like, but essentially, I have a couple of AI programs that gives me an exercise program. One of the apps is called Heavy, and it's basically a weightlifting class. And it says, you've been kind of stuck at 5-pound dumbbells here for a while. Why don't you try increasing it a little bit? I would love to see more AI come into helping all of us, eat better, get more fit, and exercise better. So I guess I'm really excited about the Apple Health rumors that are coming in 2026, and I will be all over that. Yeah, I don't know about the SharePlay workout. That's kind of interesting. Um, yeah, you hurt your shoulder. Someone hurt your shoulder. Oh no, but getting back to yoga, I mean, that's the kind of interesting thing. I got hurt. I screwed up my ankles really badly, and I couldn't walk on for about 2 years. And then because I screwed up my left ankle, I was putting so much weight on my right ankle. I screwed up my ankle too, and I was laid up for 2 years. There is always something you can do. And I'm not saying I did it because I didn't. I just sat there for 2 years and gained a lot of weight and got really out of shape. And there's something you can do, usually to do it. So I guess I would encourage you, it sounds like that you are working ways of getting back into yoga. Yeah, the aerial, is that the thing where you are like sitting in a swoopy chair and I don't know.
Upside down.
Upside down. Yeah, it sounds amazing. I would fall off and crack my head open, I'm pretty sure, but but I know someone who's done it. I have ADHD and I need to body double to work out. Otherwise, yeah, it's funny because I have ADHD too, and I think that it's really important to find the right level of notification. You kind of said that you get notification fatigue. And so I think you're right. I think that you have to find something that meets where you're at, because either they get so much that you just ignore them all, or there's not enough of them, and then you don't get the notifications that you need at much. So um, I'm someone who watches my notifications like a hawk. Nobody gets no app. I install a new app. No, you do not get to notify me unless I think it over and decide. So I'm with you on that too. So which Apple Fitness is closest to Tai Chi? And I would guess, I mean, I have not done Tai Chi, but my grandmother loved Tai Chi, and I always admired how fit and healthy she was with it. And I would think Pilates would be the closest, but that's where I would go for that. Okay. Okay. Okay, you'll do a sheer play workout with me? Okay, I'm for that. I'm for trying anything. Uh, yeah, so something like Tai Chi, super gentle. Yeah. All right, let's see what other questions. So if I missed your questions, let me know. Relief factor, yeah, for that. Oh, survey. Okay. So yeah, notifications can be. So like I said, I watch them like a hawk. But here's the thing: is at some point, work became the most important thing because it pays for this house. But I started realizing that my health became the most important thing because I was losing it quite rapidly. So I do that. Yeah, the cycles under your desk work. I had one of those in my office when I had to go into the office. So I have done. Now someone mentioned a desk earlier. I have the Flexi Spot desk, which rises and goes up and down. I bought the Flexi Spot exercise bike. They also have a track pad, a walk pad, and you can raise this whole desk, and the bike slides right under it. And so when I'm in long meetings, I bike. I'm not getting a big cardio exercise because that I look like this when I was in a meeting. So I just sit there like very calmly and no one can tell. I asked someone who was my friend at work, I said, does it look like I'm exercising? And she goes, no, you can't tell. So that's what I kind of do during long meetings because again, I sit so much. All right, so Apple Fitness is fantastic, and if you have it, give it a shot. So try a 5 to 10 minute workout. Try, just a few minutes of each of them. Use filters, like I said, to find music you like or duration you like. There's also something that's on your iPhone, and it can go through your Apple Watch too. That's called Time to Walk and Time to Run. And the idea with Time to Walk is it's usually like very philosophical people with ideas, and you go for a walk and you listen to these, people talk about whatever. I think Dolly Parton's one of them, that kind of thing. But listen to people who ID, that kind of thing. And then pedals under the desk. I think the pedals under the desk helped a lot when I was working in the office. And now because I work from home, I have the Flexi Spot thing and that works even better. So I am a big fan of pedaling at work. But you can also download your workouts too, so that if you're in a place without internet, you can continue. So I used to travel. Like I said, I traveled 25% until I got this brand new job 2 years ago. And it was easy for me to download workouts and then do them in my hotel room. Yeah, so I love to do the body scans in for mindfulness. Yeah, those are good too. And the workout walks are all very interesting. Yeah, so there's, like I said, Apple gives you so many of these things. Now looking, the other screens, because like I said, you get Apple TV on your television, but you can also, on your phone, you can on your iPad, you can use these anywhere. And so for me, when I traveled, this was my workout. I had a little flip up thing, and I used to just sit on the grimy floor, which I will never think about too seriously, and work out with, my iPad there. And it's been really great. And like I said, the Apple TV. So I went and bought like a cheap $300 TV that I threw in another room, and I put an Apple TV on it so I could work out with it. And that's been really good for me too. I did that during the pandemic. I bought like the rubbery floors, and I just threw them all over. I just set this out and made a big floor area. And this used to be my spare bedroom. And I'm like, well, we're in the middle of pandemic. I'm not going to have any guests in there. So I got rid of the bed. I got rid of the dressers in there, and I turned it into a little gym, and then put the Apple TV in there as well. So it's been very good. The very interesting thing is that there is no Mac app, which is kind of interesting because you have this beautiful screen on your laptop. And like I said, it traveled. It would have been nice to have that, but they just don't do that. So, like I said, that's kind of interesting. But you can use the Apple Fitness on all these different devices. If you are looking to get into fitness shape using your iPhone or your iPad, there again, you can use the fitness app, which has a million and one different types of exercises. You can invent your own too. Like I created one for lawn mowing because my lawn is really huge and it has a lot of hills in it. And my heart rate gets up to like 145 mowing the stupid lawn. So I created my own lawn workout because it was a workout itself. You can put widgets on your phone or your watch so that you can see where you're at, so you can see exactly how much you've exercised. And then it's a reminder. So I'm basically during the day, I am not allowed to turn the rings off my watch until I get the rings done. And then when I turn the rings on, my celebration that I can put Snoopy on there. So that makes me happy. And then setting up your health app notifications. You can set up ones for you to hydrate. Like I said, I take a couple of medications. I set up reminders for those as well. So that's how you can start incorporating your iPad and your iPhone into your health fitness. And then again, watch the Apple Fitness Plus piece of it. So yeah. You went for a walk with Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso. Yeah, that's great. So, but really, so I put small steps in here because, if you want to get started with it, start with widgets, start with using the fitness, and start really focusing on your notifications. There's ways and different apps. So I don't know if you probably know this, but essentially that if you go into the Apple Health Kit and you look at a category like water, right? How much water do you drink? It will suggest apps for you to track your water so that you can do that. So if there's something that you're looking to track, and you don't know an app to do it, I always Google or ask ChatGPT, what's a good app for this or that, for sleeping, for water and hydration, for food and food tracking. Right there in each of the categories in the Apple Health app, it will suggest apps for you too. So just keep that in mind. But then use the reminders to start building routines. If you set up a schedule like you're going to go for a walk every day at 11 o'clock, set up a reminder to help you remind you to do that. And the one thing I think that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to Apple Fitness is the AirPods. And so it's great because you can create a motivating playlist or a favorite book. Back when Harry Potter came out in Audible book, I was only allowed to listen to the Harry Potter books while I was exercising. So if I wanted to see how the book series was going to end, well, I guess I better go and exercise. So there's ways that you could use your AirPods to help you. You can have transparency because you're going outdoors and you want to hear the birds chirping in the area. So you want to hear some noise. And the noise cancellation for crowded gyms where it's really noisy. So the AirPods are exactly a really great um, piece of the health group in here. It will do that. How safe is all this health information? That's a really good question. And here's the thing is that you'll have to, look at it just like you look at most things. What information is it tracking? When you look in the app stores, for all these various health apps out of there, it'll say, we're not tracking anything from you, or we're tracking you and we're selling all your data. Then yeah, I would avoid those primarily, because of that. But the nice thing is about once everything gets into the health app itself, we know that Apple is taking care of our data. And so I think that that's really, why I am so involved in Apple. It was because of security. So you're right. If you're doing health apps, you have to be very careful about what apps you pick because they can steal and sell your data. So there are good companies out there that are just health app companies. So it's a great question. Yeah, audibles during walks. Yep. Now, this is the thing I'm not very good at, and so I can't speak a lot about it, but I'm starting to get better about it, is creating shortcuts. And so you can create shortcuts that will play a certain playlist or a certain podcast while you're exercising. You can start a workout with a shortcut. And so you can make something that is altogether pieced together as part of your exercise. So I'm going to go for this walk. I'm going to turn on the Harry Potter book and I'm going to start a focus mode so that all these text messages from everything and its mother is not bothering me. So using these shortcuts can also be a very successful way of helping you get healthy as well. So, like I said, I'm just learning shortcuts now, and so I'm getting better about it. But part of it too is like setting up a morning routine. So I don't know about you, I don't have a morning routine, but I have a night routine. So as you might know, I have a lot of hue lights. I have some of these Govee lights behind me. But this house, so I have a bird. I have a pet bird downstairs. He has a sunrise, so his lights sunrise in the morning and then his music is gentle. And then he's listening to 80s pop during the afternoon. And then at nighttime, his music sunsets, and then he goes to bed. I have the same kind of thing. So essentially at 10 o'clock, these lights start to dim. And at 10:30, the bathroom light comes on and it's on for 15 minutes. And then my light in my bedroom goes on. And if I'm not in bed by 10:30, the whole house shuts down. Now, that's not to say I can't turn everything back on again, but it encourages me to go to bed before this house shuts down. You can do same thing in the morning where you can create yourself a sunrise. You set a reminder right away to work out and get your exercise done right away. So there's ways of using these shortcuts. And like I said, I'm learning to do, there's a fellow I'm listening to, I think his name is Stephen Robles. Robles. He has a whole shortcuts website and a community, but he's the guy who is like telling ChatGPT what he ate and then having a shortcut take the food logs and shove it into the Apple Health Kit. I'm sure there's other things you could do too, like your water hydration, that kind of thing. So there's more you can do with shortcuts. I'm just not the shortcuts person, but I'm sure you're probably all smarter than I am about that. So you'll be able to figure things out. So some other thoughts in here is that you'll be able to create challenges. Apple comes with a number of challenges that you can challenge your friends. It also has the monthly challenge, like, hey, Jill, exercise, for a half hour 7 times this month. Then there's special days, a Veterans Day, Heart Day, New Year's. There's all sorts of challenges there. But there's third-party apps out there that will also do challenges. And so my work does one of these where we're walking, I forgot, last year we walked around the island, Ireland. And so every day you like walk a little bit and then it moves you forward and it tells you where you're at, what town you're at. And it's kind of cute. And at the end you get like a little medal. But a lot of third-party challenges out there, Strava, the Nike Club, this last one is called Conquer Challenges, and the Conquer Challenges are kind of fun. Like they even had one where you had to exercise a certain amount so that you could bring the one ring to Mount Doom, in The Hobbit, right? And so you exercise, and it says that you do all these things. And the app is called Conquer Challenges, and you can find them. They have all sorts of them, and it's to just make it a little bit more fun to do that. So third-party integrations, there's a million and one apps out there. These are some of the apps I use. MyFitnessPal was always the big workout and food tracker out there. I prefer MyNet Diary. MyNet Diary is just one of the best food trackers out there because it also does smaller nutrition. You know, not just like how much fiber you're getting and how much protein you're getting, but how much B12 are you getting? And so I really enjoy MyNet Diary. There's a free part and then there's a subscription part of it. And if you have the subscription, it will also track glucose. So that was how I was figuring out what was spiking my glucose. So MyNet Diary, I think, is just one of the best apps out there. And then it all fits into Health Kit. And so it helped me during the pandemic. I dropped, like I said, 16 pounds over the course of 3 years, but I also lowered my glucose by an average of 25 points, which wasn't enough, by the way. But it was good. I mean, it was like a starting point. My doctor's like, great, not many people go down. So, you know, it could do that. If you like to bike and run and hike, Strava and Map My Ride is our two other apps. If you like working out like with body weight exercises or weight exercises, Fitbod and Heavy, I use Heavy as like a personal trainer. So if I want to get like my arms days done, it'll come up with a program with it. You tell it what kinds of, you know, do you have bands or do you have, you know, this or that, and then it'll help you come up with a program. Then there's a couple of apps out there that is HealthFit and HeartWatch and Welltory. And what they do is they will read your Apple Health Kit data. And they do are all pretty good, you know, like I said, on privacy, because you do have to watch that. But it looks for trends over time. And you know, how much is your heart rate going up? Like I noticed as I started dropping weight, my heart rate was still there's a place around here called Devil's Lake, and it is 500 feet straight up. It is a challenge, you know, to climb this I won't call it's not a mountain, it's a hill. But I noticed my heart rate wasn't really coming down. I was losing weight and I was like, what's the deal here? You know, you expect my heart rate would come down. And you know what? It used to take me 90 minutes to go up the hill, and now it takes me 16 minutes up the hill. My heart rate stays the same. And so I could say, oh, you know, I'm getting faster about it. But you can kind of see that kind of data about your workout. Well, Tori is a different kind of beast, and I don't think it'll show on the screen, but it looks at your heart rate and your heart rate variability, and it looks to see, I don't think I can show anyone, but you can see that there's blue and red and green, and it shows you what things in your life are stressing you out. Your heart rate variability shows stress. And it's really kind of interesting. I had this meeting with this lady at work all the time. And I looked at the thing, and every time I met with her, my stress would go through the roof. And then when the meeting was done, it would go down. And I'm like, holy smokes, she really does stress me out. Not like I could do anything about it, but it's been kind of interesting for me. But it sort of it looks at your sleep data, like how, um, you know, did you get a good night's sleep last night? So that's kind of, so the Welltory app's been kind of a kick for me. Sleep Cycle is a really good sleeping app out there. I also, Withing has a bed thing that sits under your mattress and goes into Health Kit and talks about how well are you sleeping? Do you have apnea? And it will detect breathing problems. 80 pounds ago, I had about 2 to 3 hours of snoring and breathing problems every night. And it said I was very close to apnea. And then I started losing weight and that all went away. I showed my doctor. I printed out a big stack of statistics from my doctor, and he said, that's amazing. Because now I no longer have glucose troubles. I no longer have cholesterol troubles. I no longer have blood pressure troubles. And I no longer have apnea problems. My sleeping is darn near perfect when it comes to breathing. And that's because I lost 80 pounds. But it's fun to see in statistics, not just your weight come down, but you getting healthier. There's also some zombie runs and some fun kinds of things out there. EMR, my chart, so you can link them up. That, you know, that's pretty good too. And then, like I said, if you're interested in AI, Noom and Lark are two AI programs out there that kind of look at your eating and give suggestions. But I have to tell you, ChatGPT is so much better because, like I said, ChatGPT doesn't get wigged out about certain things that Noom and Lark did. Instead, it's all like, hey, you could have had a hard-boiled egg. Did you ever think about throwing some spinach in your wrap? You know, kind of really easy suggestions. So look around, like I said, every time you look in a category in the health app, it will give you suggestions for apps that support that particular category. But you can also read reviews and make sure that it's not stealing your data and selling it everywhere. But you gotta focus on things. So 2 years ago, I was focused on diabetes and glucose. This year, I'm no longer diabetic and have glucose troubles or anything like that. So now my whole focus is on getting more movement throughout the day. So you'll change over time. Sensors out there. I have a weight scale by a company called Renpho, Renpho. Costs about $46, and it will give you your body composition. And I just did a DEXA scan 2 days ago, and it was pretty darn close. Tells you how much you're made up of muscle and fat, and where's your fat at, and how much of it is visceral fat, which is the dangerous fat. So the weight scales can be very good. Heart rate monitors, blood pressure monitors, glucose monitoring. That's what I was doing, but also for exercise, bike cadence, and all sorts of things. All can go into your Apple Health Kit. So this was kind of interesting to me that the Apple Vision Pro. Are you guys all Apple Vision Pro users?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, I'm not either. But so I have an Oculus, and this is where everyone laughs at me because they're like, "Oh, it's just a toy. You have a toy, and this is a serious thing." But I have to tell you, I do a lot of exercising in my Oculus. You can do these like boxing things, this fitness program. I have one that actually does body weight exercises, and it's hilarious because once I didn't do it for a really long period of time, and I put the Oculus back on my head and started the app up, and all of a sudden the trainer beams in and says, "Oh, never mind, call it to search. Jill's here again," and I'm like, "All right, jerk." So it's kind of fun. But I have an app where it works with my exercise bike, and it uses Google Maps, and you can you can bike anywhere in the world. And so I've been biking around Iceland on the ring road and doing the whole ring road. And, it has some games like it plops you somewhere in the middle of the world and you have to figure out where you are as you're biking around. So it makes exercise fun. I am hoping that the Apple Vision Pro will get there to exercise too. But right now, there's a couple of things in there. But mostly what people are doing is watching videos on their Apple Vision Pro while being on an exercise bike. And that's not kind of a VR experience, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that we get there. But I can understand why Apple maybe isn't doing it because it's expensive. You could break it, you might sweat in it, and so I could see why they're probably not. And like I said, this was the end of my presentation before, but it's looking more and more like it's the future. What can we get involved with AI and Apple Fitness and Apple Health in the future? So nutrition coaching, exercise intensity, mood monitoring, all those things, ring coaching, there's things that it can do that I'm hoping we'll get to see soon. So which Renpho? I have the one and it costs about $46. It doesn't have, so there's a Renpho that has a handlebar on it, which does supposedly more impedance, like it tells you how much fat is on each arm and each leg, and it does all that. I have the cheaper one that it's just black glass and it doesn't have colored lights on it, and it's $46 and it just tells you your body fat composition. I think that all the Renpho apps, all the Renpho scales are pretty darn good. So if you're interested in that, so yeah. So I think the biggest thing is like I said, I'm Jill, doing the small steps. And if you're doing, just pick something, what is the biggest thing that is your challenge right now? Is it just getting up and moving a little bit more? Is it maybe moving in a more programmatic way? Choose like some sort of what's your biggest challenge that you have right now? Pick one thing. Can you do one workout? Can you do 150 minutes a week? Try to close one ring a day, and just start somewhere where you think that you'll be able to succeed. Just start small. You don't want to sit there. And I think this is the problem that everybody has is, getting started again, is we all come into January 1st and we say, okay, I got to stop eating crap, and I'm going to start eating good. I'm going to exercise 200 minutes a day. And, it's too much, And so then people do it for the first few weeks of January and then they get burned out. So it would be better to do what it is you would actually do. What would you actually accomplish? What would you, like when I started losing weight way back when I had my surgery, my trainer asked me, I said, what exercise should I be doing? And she says, it's the one that you'll actually do. Is it going for a walk? Is it going bird watching and going hiking? So, you said getting started again. Getting started again. They talk about, there's a book out there called Tiny Habits. And this guy is a professor at Stanford. And he is talking about like you start out by saying, I'm going to do one push up or I'm going to do one squat, something that you can't possibly fail. And you build the habit. And then maybe in a week you'll do two squats, and then you'll do. He talks about like flossing your teeth. If flossing your teeth was your issue, floss one tooth. Every night you floss one tooth. Maybe you'll floss two the next day, and you just start so incredibly small that you can't possibly fail. Is how you get started in doing it. And once you start seeing improvements, then you start feeling good. I'm in a lifting like program right now at this point. And like I said, during the course of me losing 80 pounds, I put on 12 pounds of muscle, which is really hard to do. But that's because I was so completely out of shape before. So it looks really impressive. But, I was so bad because I didn't do anything. And now I put on 12 pounds of muscle. And it was so hilarious because the other day I got salt for my water softener. And I grabbed two bags from the store and I threw them over my shoulder and I carried them back and I threw them in the car. And my friend says, how heavy are those? And I said, oh, I think they're 30 pounds a piece, which I just slung two over my shoulder and carried them out to the car. She goes, that dude over there is this big burly dude. And he took the cart and he could barely get him into his car. He goes, how strong are you? And you start feeling good and you start feeling like you start getting these benefits. And when you start feeling success, you will 40 each. Yeah, it might be 40. So, I mean, that's the idea. We won't go into this, but what's the least you could do? What's you think about the best alternative? Like, what is the best perfect world for you to be healthy? Well, I'm going to eat 3 servings of vegetables and I'm going to eat 100 grams of protein. And, but what's the fallback? What's the least? What's the least amount that you're willing to do? And it's important to look at both these. I won't talk too much because we're going a little bit long on there. And honestly, if I could do it, you could do it too, because I was the least most I was basically a blob and barely moved. And if I got into shape and I'm walking around now carrying two 40-pound bags, anyone could, because my friend is just actually amazed. She never saw this in me. We've been friends for 40 years and she's never seen this from me. So I think you can do it. Start small, use the tools you have. We spend a lot of money on all this fun Mac stuff that we have, and they're all here to help us live a healthier life. And that's it. So, any last questions? Measure weights in units of toddlers, right? Good plan. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And so I don't know if anyone has any last questions, but you can find everything I do, including how to contact me, at jillfromthenorthwoods.com. So
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Jill.
Jill.
thank you.
Really appreciate it. And I do have one question for you, and you should be ready for it because I think I did it to you the last time I was here. Would you ask your S lady to pick a number
Oh,
at random
okay.
from 1 to 30?
Yes. You know what's funny is
Inclusively.
I spoke to another Mac user group and someone did this and I ended up winning the lottery. So don't let me win the lottery.
No, you're not qualified because you're not a
Right.
T-Mug member.
Right. I was gonna say, just leave me out. All right. 1 through 30.
1 to 30.
All right. Hey Siri, pick a random number from 1 to 30. Said 30.
30?
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't think 30 qualifies because that's Gary, and Gary won it in August.
Okay.
So try again.
Okay. Hey Siri, pick a random number from 1 to 30 and say it out loud. We'll do that. Nope. All right. Hey Siri, pick a number from 1 to 30. All right, it's 18. You see it?
18.
18.
Ann McKay, I'm sorry because you're not a T-Mug member. You can't win either.
Okay, I'll do it again. All right. Hey Siri, pick a number from 1 to 30. 13.
13. 13 is Luis. I know he's won before, but not in the last 6 months. Luis, you are the winner.
Jill, awesome presentation.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions about what product I use or you're looking for an app to do that, I have been deep dived into all of this for the last couple of years. So I am
I'm,
happy to tell you more.
One question I'm interested in is the sleep apps. The Apple sleep app tells me I get 1% sleep a night,
Oh.
and I know it's not accurate.
And you
So,
wear the watch to bed, right? And
yeah.
um
Hmm.
thank you, everyone. I think that part of it is so I have the Withing. So Withing is another health company,
Hmm.
WITHING, and they have for about $80 this bed mat that goes under you where you sleep on your mattress, and I find that to be more accurate than
Okay.
the Apple Watch. I think that for some people, my friend is in that same boat, is that first of all, I think her husband rolls around so much, and so it trips up the thing, thinking it's that she's doing it or something like that, because she's getting terrible scores, and she's like, I don't think I sleep that poorly either, but. Sleep Cycle is another good sleep app. It's one that you actually put like your phone on your bed so that it sort of measures how much you're rolling around, which I think sounds less accurate than your watch. And the Apple Watch measurement for sleep, I think, is relatively new. So I think that's Sleep Cycle also. Some of these will also, I can do some research for you if you
Okay.
send me. Yeah, if you Jill at startwithsmallsteps.com. It's on the Jill from the Northwoods website. It has my email on there. So I can find some other ones for you because there are some other sleep apps that use your watch too.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you all. You're all welcome to contact me. And if you have questions or if you want, my trainer does training remotely. She'll do it with you over FaceTime if you want. So she's the one who kind of dug me out of the ditch. So
Thank you so much, Jill. We really appreciate it.
thank you.
We did have some people who say that they have lost their survey form. If you have lost it, you can send me your survey scores if you'd like. There is the Ask Me Anything section, the section about updates and security things, the accessibility minute, and Jill's presentation. Each one of those is a separate question, rated from 1 to 5. Uh, you're probably not going to rate it 1 because you probably already left. If you thought it was terrific, rate it a 5. And if you can email that to me, that would be great. My email address is bob@thinkbob.com, as in think different. So if you would like to participate in the survey and it just disappeared on you, um, do it that way. And we will try to coordinate that with the ones that have been answered. So I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season and that you will return again next month for our January session. In January, the ever popular Allison Sheridan will be here doing a presentation on iPhoto, editing your photos in Apple Photos. So I thought it was a very good presentation when I saw it at Macstock, and I think that you will get a lot out of that as well. So please have a good holiday, be safe, be healthy, and come back and see us next month. Good
Happy
night,
holidays,
everybody.
everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.
Okay, where's the leave button now? Oh, there it goes.
Thank you, Jill.
Bye.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thanks, Bob. I got here okay. Just the time zone keeps changing, but take care. It was a great program.
Okay.
Great
Thank you,
program.
Gary.
Yeah. Bye.
Good night.